So today we're going to be talking about, can the Decepticons take over Wakanda, one of the greatest nations in the Marvel universe? So this is actually going to be pretty simple, and the rules are going to be, well, self-explanatory. We're going to be using their comic iteration, so we're going to be talking about the IDW Decepticon army versus the Marvel 616 Wakanda army, alright? All having their troops, capabilities, Black Panther and Shuri, obviously, no outside help. So that means, a Black Panther can't call the Avengers or nothing, and Megatron can't ask the Autobots for help. So without further ado, let's begin. Alright, so let's start off with the greatest nation in Marvel Universe. Or, one of the greatest nations, because apparently they are very flawed, despite the fact that they have everything. How unfortunate that current Black Panther run came out. Or at least the to the current Black Panther run came out, where he lost everything for a contingency plan that went left. Yeah, Wakanda is one of the greatest nations on the planet and is actually one of the most technologically advanced in probably the universe as well, as they do have an entire galaxy to themselves. Now, keep in mind, Wakanda does have the standard stuff. Vibranium, a weapon that can either absorb and redirect the kinetic energy of its target, bouncing it back at least 10 times stronger. Then, it also has the bypass, or the durability bypass, which means that it can pretty much just cut through just about anything. Keep in mind, Black Panther's claws, which are made out of actually an anti-metal, but which is also vibranium, is able to cut characters like Hulk, Red Hulk, and Namor. Now, when it comes to the Wakandan army, they are one of the most effective units in the Marvel universe. They are able to, well, let's actually talk about just two of them, like two Dora Milaje, which are the elites of the elites. They are able to beat down Black Widow, and it was bad too, like just straight up whoop her out. And they were in suits, not even standard uniform, they just whooped her out. And then you have the army. Oh yeah, they got underwater or, submarines and technology to pretty much reduce Atlantis to nothing. Yeah, Atlantis gets clowned on so much for no reason. It's just absolutely irony. They beaten the Skrulls, and they beat them bad, like... It got so bad the Skrull leader had to try to settle it between warrior and warrior, and he still lost. Absolutely ridiculous. Then you have the Night Angels. Now, the Night Angels are ridiculous. They're above the Dora Milaje, and some of them were former members of the Dora Milaje. These guys have been able to kill the literal angels of heaven that went to war with Asgard and stalemated them, mind you. And they were able to kill them like they were nothing. Keep in mind that they also fought Thanos' army under the leadership of Cull Obsidian and Proxima Midnight. Oh, and guess what? They beat them too, with Black Panther literally beating Cull Obsidian so bad that we didn't get a third panel. We don't know what happened. We don't know exactly what happened, but he tore his arm up and had them retreat. So again, they are the most effective army in the universe. That also includes their jets, which are made out of vibranium, their, weaponry, and the fact that they have vibranium in their system now. Yeah, believe it or not, there's actually the fact that, in the more current Wakandan run, it's actually stated that Wakandas actually have vibranium in their system, which enhances their overall strength and durability. Oh, and they also now have the Hand of Bass, which was meant to counter the Phoenix Force. Yeah. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. And we'll also be giving them Black Panther, with the fact that this dude can literally just be the smartest person in the world if he wants to. Probably smarter than Reed Richards on some occasions. But again, everyone has their own qualities when it comes to their intelligence, or their own, I would probably say, specification when it comes down to it. Like, Tony has better suits than Black Panther any day of the week. However, when it comes to, the rest of their empire, they have symbiotes. Yes, they have that. The Galactic Empire, they have symbiotes, which are capable of overwhelming characters like Riri, Ironheart, and even alien soldiers capable of tackling the likes of Luke Cage. So, yeah, they have everything when it comes to an empire. Even suits, right, that are capable of taking hits from Gladiator. The same Gladiator that's able to go toe-to-toe with characters like Thor, Beta Ray Bill, and Jane Foster Thor? Yeah, him. So, believe it or not, that's going to conclude for the Wakandan army. Vibranium, kinetic weaponry, shielding, the Hand of Bast as well, and just straight up everything that you can honestly think an army should have. But let's move on to their opponents. Now, when it comes down to the Decepticon army, now, normally there's really a lot to cover, especially when talking about main members like Devastator, Bludgeon, Shockwave, Predaking, each of the Predacons and how they function, you know, Cyclonus, Tarn, Six Shot, everything. There's a lot of main members that, honestly, I would be all here all day to talk about. So, let's talk about the basics, right? Did you know the average Cybertronian ship can destroy a planet? One ship can one tap a planet. Just boom. Like that. Absolutely crazy. Oh, and they can survive in black holes. Yeah, there's not only just Seekers out here, there's Decepticon ships as well. And the funny part about it is, average drones can fight around black holes and stuff there. So, yeah, that's already a pretty good start for an average Decepticon army, and I'm not even naming main members. The fact that only this will put them at FTL speeds. Now again, Wakanda ships have the same thing, able to navigate through space and all that within a little more than seconds, but it's the fact that when we get into things like Onslaught, the Decepticons' main and chief tactician, Megatron, and I've done plenty of videos on Megatron, so you can actually go ahead and just go back to some of my old versus videos. You could talk about Megatron versus Ultron, about how powerful he is. But I'm not going to focus on Megatron here. No. You see, when it comes to Decepticon army, having the Predacons, which are the equivalent to Dinobots on there, which actually is true. And then you have characters that just vastly outclass any of them on there. Well, let's talk about a few. All right, just a few key members of the Decepticon army. And let's start off with Soundwave. Yes, the underrated, most loyal Decepticon in history. Megatron's true second in command. Now, Soundwave himself is already a threat. You see, there's no reason the Decepticons, should lose anything. But here's the funny thing around it, right? Not only is Soundwave capable of flying and fighting against characters like Galvatron, who's been able to rip Megatron in half, did you know he's a telepath? Yeah, believe it or not, Soundwave is a telepath. He's actually a outlier. And he can not only manipulate sonic vibrations, but he can actually use them to read an opponent's movements and even read their thoughts. So imagine getting out onto the battlefield and this man knows every move you're about to make before you, the person, even makes it. Absolutely insane, isn't it? So Soundwave himself not only can read the minds of Cybertronians, he can, tell how they feel, their emotions, all that. And I mean all of it, like it's absolutely nothing. I know, it's just absolutely insane, because I mean, Soundwave can even predict an opponent or a person getting there before they even get there, and already knows they're there before they even arrive on the scene. That's how well his telepathy works. Then there's his Sonic Blast, being able to harm characters like Bumblebee, being able to harm characters like RC, another person who's on par with Galvatron. Go ahead and watch my Can RC Beat Doom video. But what he really shines in is with his cassettes. Now, I'm not going to explain all of them here because I have a special video planned for Soundwave later. But when it comes to some of his cassettes, let's talk about one in particular. Frenzy. Did you know Frenzy can manipulate sound waves to the point where he can create illusions? Yeah, not only can he disorientate Cybertronians, but on organic beings, he actually causes them to hallucinate. Actually causes them to witness their first fear. Or, their worst fears altogether. So yeah, Scarecrow's fear gas, where he needs to inject or hit you with a gas, Frenzy could do that casually. Like it's just nothing. He don't need to make no concoction or nothing, just manipulate sound waves. Absolutely ridiculous, right? So keep in mind, Soundwave can not only read your thoughts, his cassettes are capable of fighting against the strongest of Autobots and Decepticons, but one of his cassettes can cause illusions to make people witness their worst fears. And he's been able to do this to entire armies. But let's talk about Godzilla. I mean Tripticon, right? So did you know that not only was Tripticon able to, stomp out Optimus Prime, but him dropping from a certain level in orbit would have one-shotted everything in Iacon. Not just its main city, but every city in its radius. I need y'all to really think about that for a minute. And keep in mind, the Autobots were literally monitoring his orbit, and when he was about to drop down, there was no way to really counter him. They had nothing to counter him. So, you know who did counter him? Metroplex. Metroplex literally uppercutted him right as he was coming down in orbit at that very speed. Meaning not only did he stop that explosion, But he made sure that Trypticon could not do that. Okay? So Trypticon needed Metroplex to stop him from doing an orbital extinction bomb. Absolutely crazy, right? And we're not going to get into the fact that obviously he has literally laser breath, all these weapons upon him like missiles, guns, and stuff like that. Yeah, we're not going to get into that. Let's talk about Shockwave. The Decepticon mad scientist. And you know, he's actually one of the worst ones on here. You see, it's funny how Shockwave can literally be like, you know what? I'm going to need that real quick. Megatron, could you please confiscate that Wakanda real quick? He's got vibranium in the system. Oh, word? Let me get that. Shockwave's intelligence is a very crucial part of the Decepticon army. He's the head scientist for a reason. He's one of the most feared Decepticons for a reason. And in all honesty, I think he's scarier than Megatron, or even Tarn, to be honest, because of the things he'll do. The fact that this man created not only Megatron's or 13 armor, but the Phase 6er program. He also created Sunstorm. You know, Cybertron that can wield the power of the sun itself. He created that. He also was able to figure out how to use concepts and turn them into armor, which is how Megatron got his Or 13 armor, and figured out how to put a space bridge around Megatron's innards, right? So that his innards were pan-dimensional, meaning if you try to stab through Megatron, your hand gets teleported somewhere else. You ain't get it back. Let's not forget the other Cybertrons of the army, like, you know, Six Shot, like I mentioned earlier, who's basically like the equivalent to a super soldier of the Decepticons. Then there's the likes of Tarn, who can just stop and manipulate technology, even living technology as well. Then there's Megatron. Obviously, you guys know about him by all the videos I made about him on my channel. And then you have the Combiners, Predaking, Devastator, Menasor, all of them. All those beings can just start wiping out entire armies by themselves. Their weaponry, their powers, and their capabilities literally give the Decepticons everything they have. So, with that being said here, that is really going to do it for the Decepticon army. Now, let's actually answer the question. Can they take Wakanda? So now we have to ask the question. Can the Decepticons conquer Wakanda? Or does Wakanda repel them? I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I actually do feel bad for Wakanda here. Let's talk about it. Now, Wakanda does have everything they need to actually combat the Decepticon army. But here's the thing. They don't have the raw power. They have the versatility and technology, yes, but they don't have the raw power. And I would also say they do not have the warfare to also combat Wakanda. And here's the reason why. Before y'all really get into me, let me talk about this, right? The Decepticons have waged a war for millions of years. Probably billions. I mean, it's apparently before even humans. All right? Even humans began to, really exist on Earth. All right? Their war has been going on for that long. To the point where they invented ships that could blow up planets. Imagine that invaded Wakanda, and they got to be like, hey, could you dial it down a bit? We're trying not to blow up the planet real quick. Oh, yeah, sure thing, boss. And the fact that the average Decepticon drone can likely outpace any Wakandan ship and likely destroy it as well. Considering this year, let's say if they can't destroy it because they're a vibranium, then there's stronger characters that can do it. I mean, Soundwave could also likely just telepathically, figure out how Wakanda works. Reading the minds of someone like Shuri or any of the Wakandan scientists and be like, hey, Shockwave, you want a sample? Shockwave gonna be like, heck yeah, give me that. And then it's not to even go in the fact that when they really get into the field, there are going to be characters that they just simply can't handle. As a matter of fact, Megatron might be petty enough to just send Trypticon first. Because the best they can actually use to counteract Trypticon's whole impact thing is definitely the Hand of Bast. However, I guess it does depend on the person using it, because it did cause some type of mental strain to at least Okoye or the Dora Milaje who was actually using it. I haven't read the King in Black story in a while, so I'm not sure if it's really Okoye, but I do think it was her because she is the most trusted member. So with that being said, if they can't stop that, then the Decepticons are just going to straight up overrun Wakanda. All right, the Decepticons are just going to straight up overrun it. But let's say if they don't use Tripticon first and they actually go in soldier for soldier, right? Then this means that the Wakandas may be able to take out a single drone with likely a lot of casualties on their hand. But once things like combiners and then the main Decepticons really start stepping out into the field, people like Six Shot, Overlord, Tarn, you know, characters of that caliber, it's not too fair after a while. It becomes, okay, y'all have, you know, many more soldiers than I do, but I have more powerful soldiers. You get what I mean? He has more quality soldiers, if you guys get what I mean. Shockwave, being able to handle the more prehistoric era of the Dinobots. The Predacons, being literally comparable to that. Soundwave with his sonic manipulation. And then you got Starscream, Thundercracker with his sonic vibrations, which can literally split the eardrums of people. So that's going to be a problem. And then the fact that, yeah, Wakanda is offensively great, but they mainly function better when someone is invading them. Usually when someone, you know, when they invade somebody, they can take them by surprise. And I think that's one of their best tactics, too. Especially with Atlantis, which really isn't technologically as advanced as them. So it's kind of, you know, one-sided. But believe it or not, I don't see with everything that they can do that they would beat the Decepticons. Now, what if they were prepared, right? What if they prepped on the Decepticons? Well, then yeah, they would be able to repel an invasion. But here's the thing. Give the Decepticons prep time. Give Shockwave prep time. Now, that sounds terrifying, doesn't it? Exactly. That's the thing. Because even if I give, you know, Wakanda prep time, I would have to be fair and also give that to Decepticons. Even though they probably are more, I would probably say more advanced when it comes to preparations than even the likes of Doctor Doom and Batman when it comes to occasion. Albeit, I do think Shockwave and Doctor Doom are around the same intelligence level. But let me know in the comment section down below if you guys think Shockwave or Doctor Doom is more intelligent. Or maybe you guys would like to see a video on that. Would y'all like to see that? I mean, I would love to actually give my opinion on that. But at the end of the day here, I do think that the Decepticon army does beat Wakanda. I think at first the drones are really just going to be fodder to kind of see what the Wakandas can do. And then Megatron's going to be like, all right, everybody, let's clean house. So that's going to be all today, guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.